on everyone, welcome back to the Full 90. It is time for week 8 of Premier League predictions. Last week was absolutely insane. Man United got the win that we predicted at home against Sunderland. Chelsea beat Liverpool with a dramatic late winner. Their woes at Stamford Bridge continue. Arsenal beat West Ham to claim the top spot in the Premier League, and Everton ended Crystal Palace's unbeaten run. A few of you also hyped the video with 2,500 hype points, so if you want to hype this video, I'd really appreciate that. I don't even know how you do it, but you guys have figured it out, and we're getting very, very close to 40,000 subscribers, and I said to you all, if we get there, I will be doing an AFCON prediction series when that tournament rolls around. So if you want to subscribe, join us on the road to 40,000. I think we can get there this week. Now, last week on the Premier League prediction show, we had 9 out of 10 correct results / tips, and the only one we got wrong was Brighton and Wolves, because my tip was both teams to score an over 2.5 goals, and both teams scored, but it ended in a 1-1 draw. But other than that, it was a phenomenal episode, so let's continue that form this week. Comment of the week has got to go to H2 Blog, who predicted that Everton would beat Crystal Palace 2-1. As I said, ending Palace's massive unbeaten run, and they also added in their comment that the winning goal be a penalty kick from Everton. Now, Iliman Ndiaye did score a penalty kick for Everton, but that was to make it 1-1, and then Grealish scored the winner in stoppage time. Albeit Palace had chances to get something from that game, Everton ultimately won 2-0, so bravo. If you want a chance to be in with a shout out for comment of the week, leave your comment down below predicting one of this weekend's games, and you'll have a chance. Flash up on the screen all the people that are supporting me over on the Patreon. It's almost at the point where I cannot squeeze you all in onto the screen, but if you see your name there, I really do appreciate it. If you want your exclusive members tips and accumulators and a shout out in every video, then click that top link in the description. But let's get started with week 8 of the Premier League, and there is of course a massive fixture for Super Sunday. It's Liverpool against Manchester United, so get your prediction hats on and let's get started. And again, thank you for all the support. Please do sub down below. Let's go. We start off with Nottingham Forest up against Chelsea. Now, Nottingham Forest have been having a really torrid time of it. Ever since Ange Postecoglou came in, took over, they have 0 wins from 7 in all competitions. I remember saying that their tie against Midtjylland, that they were way too short to win. The odds are about 1.44 to win at home, and Midtjylland went and got the win 3-2. Nottingham Forest has failed to keep a clean sheet under Ange Postecoglou as well, and Chelsea, like I said before earlier, just came off a win against Liverpool. There are some absentees for Chelsea, the most notable being, of course, Cole Palmer. However, I don't see how Nottingham Forest get anything from this game. I know it's at the City ground, but Chelsea are just better, and Forest are not particularly good. So I'm going to say it'll be a 2-1 win to Chelsea, and perhaps that closeness represents the post-international break blip that some teams might have, where they play a little bit worse. There's, of course, European football that Chelsea have got to think about with the Champions League coming back next week. So I think it could be closer, but I don't see how Chelsea don't win. So I'm going to say 2-1 to Chelsea, and the tip is Chelsea to win at 1.9. I love those odds. I was thinking about Chelsea and under 3.5 goals, but also I'm thinking about Chelsea half-time, full-time, but ultimately the odds are good enough for me, so I'm going to say Chelsea to win at 1.9. Also, I just remembered someone in the comments asked if we could do an accumulator for subscribers to the channel every Premier League video. Is that something you guys would be interested in? If that is, then let me know in the comments, and I can get started with that from the next episode, maybe even the Champions League episode on Monday. I can make a free ACCA for you guys watching as well. But after this, we travel to the Amex Stadium for Brighton up against Newcastle. Now, if Newcastle are to repeat their away form of the season so far, this will end 0-0. I don't see that happening, but yes, Newcastle have drawn 0-0 in all of their away games this season. It's not going to happen, in my opinion. I do think Newcastle have been unlucky at times this season, and I think they are, starting to get some results together. Their win against Nottingham Forest, albeit it was only 2-0, they could have scored a lot more, and they look decent. I don't see a world where this is 0-0. Similarly, Brighton, they're usually good for a goal. They got their late goal against Wolves as well, so I think both teams are going to score here, despite all of the 0-0s that Newcastle have had away from home, and I'm going to shade it to the Geordies, who ultimately I think just have a little bit more quality. I'm going to go Newcastle 2, Brighton 1. The tip is both teams to score at 1.66. After this, we travel to Turf Moor for Burnley up against Leeds. It is a very, very important game. You could argue a relegation 6-pointer. A win here for either side would be massive. Arguably for Burnley, it's more important that they get the win because they are at home. But I do just think Burnley are one of the weakest sides in the Premier League and weaker than Leeds. I think at the start of the season, I tipped Burnley to get relegated and Leeds to stay up. I don't see that changing in my personal opinion. I think it's going to be a very low scoring. I think there could be one goal in it. Either way, I have seen people actually predict Burnley to win, but I'm going to go for a 1-0 away win to Leeds. I know Leeds have been struggling to convert the chances that they make. They haven't been scoring loads of goals, but there's been positive signs, and Burnley, I think they are going to defend well, and I think it will be low scoring, but I could just see Leeds nicking it. I know Burnley do have that threat on the counter. Anthony as well looks good, but I'm just going to go for a 1-0 into Leeds. That's my gut prediction. The tip, however, will hopefully keep every result on side unless Leeds go absolutely nuts, and that'll be under 2.5 goals at 1.66, because yes, Burnley are, I think, unbeaten at home, but they haven't exactly played the strongest teams yet. So I know also last season in the Championship, Burnley, I think they took 4 points off of Leeds. They didn't even concede a goal, if I remember correctly. But regardless, I'm just going to go for a 1-0 win to Leeds at Turf Moor. But the tip is going to be in the goal market to be under 2.5. Now, after this, we travel to Selhurst Park for a phenomenal game coming up. It's Crystal Palace up against Bournemouth. Probably two of the surprise packages of the Premier League. Some might argue Sunderland, but I think they've overperformed in terms of output with points than their actual performances suggest, but we'll get on to them in a minute. Crystal Palace and Bournemouth have been two of the most exciting teams this season. Palace, their overall play as a unit, obviously they had that massive unbeaten run, and they very easily could have not lost to Everton. They could have beaten Everton if they took some more of their chances. They were just so dominant in that first half, and maybe a draw would have been the fair result there, but Palace have an abysmal record away against Everton. Like, it's worse than you could possibly think. So this game, I think it's going to be tricky. Palace should be favourites, in my opinion, to win this game. But Bournemouth, when you've got Antoine Semenyo, other than maybe Erling Haaland, but it's sort of like a different kind of man in form, Semenyo is the form player of the league. Like, yes, Haaland's goal output is higher, but for like just general overall play, I think there's a strong argument to be made that Semenyo could be currently player of the season level. He's been absolutely phenomenal, and he's a big part as to why Bournemouth are in the top four. His percentage of goal contributions to all of Bournemouth's goals is insane. I think he's been involved with about 80% of Bournemouth's total goals this season in one way or another with a goal or an assist, which is incredible. So it's hard to say that Bournemouth lose when you've got a player on such hot form. I think if there was going to be a winner in this game, I would say it'd be Crystal Palace, but I'm going to sit on the fence and say it'll be a very exciting 2-2 draw. But one tip that I cannot look past, I think you're very good for it, both teams to score at 1.7, because let's not forget, Bournemouth almost lost to Leeds as well. So I think Palace should win here. And if they do, I think both teams will score. So I'll say 2-2. The tip will be both teams to score. Now, after this, we travel to the Etihad for Man City up against Everton, the Jack Grealish derby. Grealish, of course, unable to play in this fixture against Manchester City. But I think Everton, they've been very good this season. I like what I've seen. I just think it's a step too far, especially without Grealish, to go away from the Hill Dickinson to win against Man City. I don't think they've improved to that extent, and I don't think Man City have dropped off as much as some people seem to think they might have done. They haven't lost a single game since Donnarumma's joined the starting 11. He's an absolute tank. He's a unit. And then you've got Erling Haaland at the other end of the pitch, breaking all sorts of records, scoring goals every single game he plays. So I don't see a world in which Man City don't win this. But I don't think it'll be 4-0, 5-0, nothing, I won't be crazy like that. I'm going to go for Manchester City to win 2-0. The tip, because I like the odds, I'm sprinkling in a Man City -1 handicap at 2.1. I could see this being a 1-0 or a 2-1. So if you really aren't certain on a Man City -1 handicap, maybe Man City and under 3.5 goals is a good way to go. Ultimately, if you think Man City are going to win, then it might be worth doing Man City -1 and Man City and under 3.5 goals as two separate bets, because for it to be over 3.5 goals, Man City will cover a -1 handicap, because there's no way that Everton, get more than one goal, in my opinion. So I think Man City -1 or Man City and under 3.5 goals, and if you're very lucky, both come in and both will be above even. So Man City 2-0, Man City -1 handicap at 2.1 is what I'm going with there. After this, we travel to the Stadium of Light for Sunderland up against Wolves. This again is an absolutely massive game. Sunderland still in the top half of the table as it stands. Wolves rock bottom of the table, still winless this season. Do I think Wolves are going to go to the Stadium of Light and win? Maybe. I think they could absolutely do it. However, I've got to see a little bit more from Wolves. They have got 2 very good points in their last 2 games. They drew against Tottenham and they drew against Brighton. They could have won both those games if not for late goals. So you turn that around, those last moments, it could easily have been 6 points for Wolves, and I don't think people would be as quick to back Sunderland to beat them in this fixture. And Wolves didn't really do much wrong. So I actually make Wolves the favourites in this game. And I know there's Sunderland fans that watch my videos and are like, when are you going to predict us to win? If you can't predict us to beat 20th place at home, when are you going to predict us to win? When Burnley goes to the Stadium of Light, I will predict Sunderland to win. How about that? But here, Wolves should be the favourites. Let's not forget, like, Wolves are a Premier League team. Sunderland were a championship team last year, and whilst they've strengthened a lot, they've had a good start to the season, I think the results have flattered them a little bit. Can I say that? Feel free to disagree with me, but be respectful. Sunderland looked terrible away against Manchester United, and I know they play better at home, so I'm going to sit on the fence and say a 1-1 draw. But the tip, it is my highest odds tip of the week. It's both teams to score and under 3.5 goals at odds of 3. After this, we travel to Craven Cottage for Fulham up against Arsenal. This should be plain sailing for Arsenal. Just like Arsenal against West Ham at home, we predicted 3-0. It was 2-0. We said Arsenal half-time, full-time at 1.72. That came in. But saying that, Arsenal lost at home to West Ham a couple of seasons ago, and then the week later after they did that, they lost to Fulham as well. So Fulham and West Ham, as an Arsenal fan, scare me because they basically stopped us winning the title a couple of years ago. So this is one, especially away from home at Craven Cottage as well, that we need to just win no matter what. I know we've got Champions League coming up, but honestly, I'd rather win this game and lose the game in the Champions League and carry on in the Premier League, because we'll still get out of the Champions League stage. That much is a given. So I think we should absolutely focus and prioritise this game over the Champions League midweek game. And I think Arsenal have finally got the minerals to do it. Don't get me wrong, the game still scares me, but I think the defence has been so good. It's been the best in the league. I'm going to say Arsenal win this one 2-0. The tip is Arsenal to win at 1.57. I hope that doesn't bite me in the butt. I really do. But if we can get past West Ham and Fulham, maybe that's a sign that we finally do win the league. Obviously, I predicted Arsenal to win the league at the start of the season, and I've never predicted Arsenal to win the league before this season. So it'd be nice to get it right on the first go. So I'm going to say Arsenal to win 2-0. We travel now to another part of London. Tottenham up against Aston Villa. Tottenham sitting pretty in 3rd place. Aston Villa starting to climb the table after beating Burnley. Now Tottenham, they're quite difficult to predict. They did beat Leeds away from home. Leeds had a much higher XG, but the general play of the game, Tottenham was sort of on top. Leeds just spurned a couple of good chances that sort of inflated the XG stats. But on the eye, Tottenham weren't awful in that game, as the XG maybe did suggest. Tottenham at home here, I think they should win this one. Villa have started really rocky in this season. Don't get me wrong, I could absolutely see Tottenham throwing this away and not winning. So the tip is going to be in the goal market, but I've actually gone for quite a handsome scoreline here for Tottenham fans. I'm going for a 3-1 Tottenham win. The tip, however, in case we see a 2-1 win to Villa, I could see this going either way, by the way. Don't let the handicap score prediction fool you. I could see it going either way. I could see a 2-2 draw, but I do see goals. My tip is going to be over 2.5 goals at odds of 1.8. I'd rather pick that than pick Tottenham to win at odds of 2.1. But if you are in the camp that thinks Tottenham is going to win convincingly, Tottenham to win at 2.1 is a very, very good selection. Now, after this, it is the Super Sunday fixture at Anfield. It's Liverpool up against Manchester United. Man United, this is a really, really good time for them to play Liverpool. I haven't been so confident that Man United could get points from Liverpool as I am today in a long, long time. But just because I'm confident that it's more likely that they'll get a point from Liverpool doesn't mean I think it's going to happen this time round. I think at Anfield, Liverpool are going to win. Maybe Man United score. I think 2-1 is very, very likely, but I went with my gut here and think Liverpool need to shore up at the back, and instead of just, outscoring teams like they did the likes of the 4-2 win against Bournemouth, winning and both teams scoring is not a great way to win a league, because you don't want the team that you're against to have any chance of winning, and to do that, you've got to keep a clean sheet. So I think maybe they can shore things up at the back and Liverpool just win this one in an underwhelming 2-0. So I'll say 2-0. The tip is Liverpool to win at 1.6. Maybe that's like a win-win scenario for me, and I hope that they don't win, and then Arsenal can, assuming they obviously win their game against Fulham, can extend their lead at the top of the table. But Liverpool absolutely should win this at Anfield. There's no fixture Liverpool shouldn't win at Anfield. They beat Arsenal at Anfield. They can beat Man City at Anfield. So if they can do that, they should win every home game, just like Arsenal should win every home game. And it's a tough place to go. So I'm going to say Liverpool to win 2-0. The final game, it's Monday Night Football. It is West Ham up against Brentford. It's another London derby. I mean, are there many London derbies this week? We've got Fulham and Arsenal, but I think that's pretty much it. West Ham and Brentford. Under the lights. West Ham really are like a Monday Night Football team, aren't they? There are certain teams in certain leagues that just feel right for their kickoff time. I'll give you a few examples. So Lazio in Serie A, that's an 11:30 kickoff on a Sunday morning. That's them. I would say Atletico Madrid, that's an 8 p.m. kickoff on a Sunday. Real Madrid, that's a 5:30 kickoff on a Saturday. Like, there's certain teams that just lend themselves well to certain kickoff times. It feels like they always seem to kick off at those times. And West Ham is an 8 o'clock on Monday team. They just are. And they welcome Brentford. This one is a very intriguing game. I think it can actually be really, really entertaining. And West Ham obviously got off to a poor start this season under Graham Potter, but they've now appointed Nuno Espirito Santo. Brentford, you never really know what they're going to get. They lost 1-0 to Man City. They were lucky it wasn't 2 or 3 very early on. I just think West Ham are going to bounce back from that loss against Arsenal and actually take a win. I think the safe bet here, and a lot of people are going to say a 1-1 draw. I think that's the prediction people look at this game and think is going to happen. I'm going to say West Ham get the win here and say 2-1. But in case we do get that 1-1 draw, I've got a tip that keeps that and the win on side, with West Ham double chance and both teams to score at odds of 2.15. So that is going to do it for week 8 of the Premier League. If you did enjoy it, please do drop a like. Like I said, thank you again so much for all of the support on the channel. Thank you to everyone that hypes these videos. It's a way that YouTube can push and promote the video to others on the platform, and it worked well last time. The last 2 videos you guys have hyped, we had over 20,000 people watching. So again, I cannot thank you enough for the support. And like I said, if we reach 40,000 subscribers, I will be introducing an AFCON series. And I know there's a lot of African viewers out there. So yeah, thank you for the support. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video very soon.